I was standing in the driveway, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, staring at the house I had helped build. My father's silver Lexus gleamed under the streetlight. Inside, my husband, Mark, was laughing with a woman I didn't know, leaning in like I wasn't even there. My heart thudded, hard, uneven, like it was trying to escape my chest. I didn't move. I didn't call his name. I just watched him, the way he used to look at me, now reserved for her. The scent of her perfume cut through the evening air, sweet and intrusive. My son, Nathan, sat on the porch swing, oblivious, spinning slowly, humming a song he'd made up last week. I thought about all the nights I had stayed up with him, rocking him to sleep when he cried from dreams I couldn't share. The hospital bills, the sleepless mornings, the quiet dinners I ate alone because he was working late, and now this. After 15 years, it all crumbled in one glance. I heard the crunch of gravel, my mother's voice sharp, clipped. "Are you going to say something?" She was on the sidewalk, arms crossed, eyes judging. I swallowed hard, tasting metal. Not yet. I wanted him to see me standing there, silent, controlled. Let him wonder. Let him feel the weight of his own betrayal. Inside, the woman leaned closer. I noticed the ring on her finger. Expensive. Obvious. I traced it with my eyes, counting the reflections, imagining how he'd justified it to himself. My chest ached. But then I saw Nathan glance up, and something shifted. I could not let this be his normal, not his world. I stepped forward, slow, deliberate, making sure my shoes crunched just enough on the gravel. My father muttered under his breath, disbelief in his tone. I kept walking. Every step was a choice. Every breath a promise to myself. When I reached the door, I didn't knock. I didn't yell. I slipped the key into my pocket, the one he'd given me when we first bought this house together, and I paused. What I did next would change everything. But I wasn't ready yet. Not fully. Not until he realized that I had plans he could not predict. What? I walked inside the house, quiet now. The front door clicked shut behind me, the sound startlingly loud. The chandelier overhead threw fractured light across the walls. Mark didn't notice me at first. He was bent over the kitchen island, laughing at something she said, oblivious. My chest tightened. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, slow and heavy, demanding attention. I set Nathan down on the couch. He glanced up at me, eyes wide, sensing tension. I crouched and whispered, "Go grab your sketchbook, honey, draw while I handle something." He nodded, obedient, trusting me completely. I could hear her voice, sharp with amusement, cutting across the room. "You're so dramatic," she said, not realizing I could hear every word. I moved to the living room table where the stack of unopened mail marked our life. I sorted through it quickly, hands steady. Bills, letters, statements, all of it. My mind worked fast. Every detail mattered. I needed to know exactly what he thought he could take. Mark finally looked up. His eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" His voice was calm, but with an edge. I met his gaze evenly, though my body hummed with fury. "Checking things," I said softly. "For transparency. For us." She shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. I noticed how she clutched her purse like a shield. I smiled slightly. Small victory. They didn't expect me to notice. I opened the ledger hidden behind the cabinet. For 11 years, I had managed our finances, watched the money flow, memorized the patterns. I had kept quiet while he built illusions for everyone else. Now, every discrepancy jumped out. Multiple accounts he claimed were empty weren't. Investments he said had failed were thriving. And I realized something crucial. I held the keys to every asset he thought he controlled. Mark froze as I spoke, calm but measured. "You underestimated me," I said. "Not anymore." The words hung in the room like a verdict. She made a noise, a laugh that died when our eyes met. She understood she wasn't in control. Not here. Not today. Nathan's pencil scratched against the paper behind me. I glanced over. His drawing of our house. Neat lines. Perfect little windows. A story only a child could tell. I smiled briefly, thinking about protection, about legacy, about teaching him strength by showing mine. Mark's jaw tightened. He realized I wasn't just a wife who had kept the home together. I was the one holding the power, and he had never seen it coming. I heard the front door click and froze. It was him, Mark. He stepped inside carefully, like a man walking on thin ice. His eyes scanned the room, landing on Nathan first. My son waved a small hand without looking up from his drawing. The innocence in that gesture cut through the tension like a blade. Mark's lips pressed into a thin line. He didn't speak. He never did. Not when he wanted to assert control, not when he wanted to charm. Just stood there. The kitchen light bounced off his watch, expensive, shining, irrelevant. I moved closer to Nathan, keeping him between us, silent but steady. I heard her voice behind him, soft, unsure. Mark, maybe. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw me, really saw me. My eyes met hers. That glance alone shifted the air. She faltered, purse tightening in her hands, a slight tremor I didn't need to comment on. I opened the laptop on the counter. It was synced to the accounts he thought were secret. I let the screen glow a little longer than necessary, numbers filling the space between us. Investments, savings, trusts, all active, all under my control. Every asset he bragged about at parties, every account he claimed was hidden, was there. And he knew it. Mark's jaw tightened. His hands clenched into fists. He stepped closer. I didn't flinch. My voice stayed low but firm. You thought I was helpless. You thought I didn't see. You thought you could take it all. My breath was steady, measured. Nathan looked up briefly. I nodded at him. He smiled, small, confident, as if he already understood the invisible lesson. Strength doesn't roar. It waits, it observes, it acts. Mark's shoulders slumped slightly. The air was heavier now. He realized something fundamental had shifted. He wasn't in control anymore. Not of me, not of the house, not of Nathan's world. I closed the laptop slowly, letting the click echo. Every eye in the room followed the sound. Mine landed on Nathan again. I crouched, touched his shoulder lightly. We're okay, I whispered. He nodded. Quietly, deliberately, he returned to his drawing. Mark turned and walked toward the door. His steps were slow, uncertain. I didn't call after him. The lesson had been delivered. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet that changes everything. The morning light spilled across the hardwood floor, thin and cold. I stood at the window, coffee in hand, watching the neighborhood wake up. Nathan's sketches were scattered on the dining table, each one a story he didn't have words for yet. I traced the lines with my eyes, thinking about how far we had come. Mark called while I sipped, voice smooth, casual, trying to sound like nothing had changed. I didn't answer. I set the cup down. He left a message. We should talk. Family matters. Come over. I played it back once, then deleted it. The phone buzzed again. Another message from his lawyer. I ignored it. The house felt quiet in a new way. Safe. I walked to the living room and picked up Nathan's sketchbook. Each page was deliberate, careful, but full of energy. He didn't know it yet, but he was teaching me patience and courage at the same time. The doorbell rang. I froze, listening. My mother's voice followed almost immediately, clipped, sharp. Lila, open up. We need to discuss the estate. I didn't move. Nathan peeked around the corner, eyes questioning. I smiled at him. Small, steady. We're fine, I said. They knocked again. I could hear the pause, the hesitation behind their words. My father muttered something about propriety. I took a slow breath and walked to the door, opened it just enough to see their faces. Surprise, frustration. That thin layer of control they thought they had slipping away. I stepped back inside, closed the door. "Not today," I said, voice soft but firm. My mother's eyes widened. My father's jaw tightened. They had always underestimated me, never accounted for the quiet strength that grew in the spaces they ignored. I went back to the table, flipping Nathan's sketches one by one, each drawing a testament to endurance, to expression, to hidden resilience. I felt the weight of years we had carried, the sacrifices that went unseen, and now, finally, they were powerless to touch it. Mark's Lexus rolled by outside. I watched it fade down the street. He didn't stop. He didn't call. He'd counted on fear and silence. I had neither. Nathan leaned against my leg, small hand warm in mine. I smiled. "We're okay," I whispered. And for the first time in years, it was true. I found the envelopes on the counter stacked neatly like nothing had changed. Each one was addressed to me, my name written in careful script, but the weight in my chest told me otherwise. I opened the first slowly, letting the paper breathe before touching it. It was a notice from the bank. Funds had been transferred, all of them. Every account he thought he controlled. I felt a pulse in my ears, loud, sharp, demanding attention. Nathan peeked into the kitchen, holding his sketchbook. I gestured for him to stay. He nodded. Small, deliberate, understanding without words. The second envelope was from a lawyer. I slid it open and scanned the papers. Trust agreements, assets, property deeds, everything I had quietly tracked over the years, verified, monitored, was now officially recognized in my favor. My breath caught. My hands shook. Not from fear, from clarity. Mark's voice came from the street. I ignored it. The doorbell rang again. I didn't move. I let it ring. Long, heavy, persistent. He wouldn't understand. None of this was about him anymore. I turned back to the table, sifting through the documents, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a dog barking 2 blocks away. The house felt different, safe, controlled. My father's shadow didn't reach here. My mother's sharp words didn't echo here. This space belonged to me, to Nathan, to the life we had rebuilt quietly, deliberately. A knock at the door startled me. I glanced up. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Henson, 72, sharp-eyed, with a voice like a bell. "Lila, I heard everything last night. Thought you might need some company." She held a tray with coffee and muffins, warmth, tangible, spilled into the room. I nodded, accepted. Nathan climbed onto the chair beside me, placing his sketches carefully in a neat pile. I reached over, took his small hand. "We're doing okay," I said. He squeezed back. Quiet, strong. Enough. Outside, Mark's car idled and left. I didn't watch. I didn't care. What mattered was here. The papers, the trust, the control. Everything he had dismissed, ignored, underestimated. All of it belonged to me now. I leaned back, exhaled slowly. The morning sunlight hit the counter, warmed the envelopes, and for the first time in years, I felt steady, solid, in control. And I knew no one would ever make me doubt that again. The morning was gray, the sky heavy with clouds. I stepped onto the porch, Nathan at my side, clutching his sketchbook like armor. The air was cold, crisp, carrying the scent of wet leaves and exhaust from passing cars. I could hear the faint hum of the streetlights turning off, signaling the start of another day. A knock at the door made me jump. I turned slowly. It was Mr. Blake, our neighbor, pushing 70, stooped slightly but with eyes sharp as ever. "Lila, I heard the news. Thought you might want some coffee. My treat." He held the steaming cup with both hands, careful, deliberate. I nodded and stepped aside, letting him in. The warmth hit me first, then the smell of dark roast and cinnamon. Nathan went straight to the table, flipping open his sketchbook. Mr. Blake crouched beside him, pointing at a drawing, his face lighting up. "You've got talent, kid. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Nathan beamed. I felt a swell of pride, a quiet affirmation that our world, our safe world, was intact. Outside, I saw Mark's car parked down the street. He lingered, glancing back at the house. I didn't move. I didn't need to. The power I had kept hidden for so long was no longer invisible. He had underestimated me, as everyone did, always had. I set my cup down, voice low, calm, but firm. "Nathan, finish your drawing. Mr. Blake, thank you." The words hung in the kitchen steady, each syllable a reminder. Control is earned, not demanded. The doorbell rang again. I ignored it. The footsteps on the porch creaked, hesitant, calculating. Whoever it was, they had to wait. Inside, the light from the window bounced off the hardwood, throwing fractured patterns across the table where the sketches lay. It was almost ceremonial, the way shadows and sunlight played together, marking our territory, our boundaries. Nathan's pencil scratched across the paper. I leaned over, watching the lines form, imagining futures where we weren't judged by others' expectations. I took a deep breath, let it out slowly. The house was ours. The life we had rebuilt, our sanctuary, was secure. Outside, the world moved fast. Inside, it moved to our rhythm. The quiet power, the slow reckoning, the control I had fought for, it was here, undeniable. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not just relief, not just triumph, but recognition. Recognition that I had earned this, that we had earned this, that nothing could take it from us now. The afternoon sun poured through the blinds, casting sharp lines across the living room floor. Nathan was at the table coloring carefully, lips pressed together in concentration. I watched him, my hand resting on the back of his chair. Every line, every stroke was proof of our quiet resilience. There was a knock at the door, slow, deliberate. I didn't move at first. I let it hang. Whoever it was had to wait. The echo of their footsteps on the porch made the house feel smaller, tighter. I could feel the tension coil around me like a spring. I opened the door slightly. It was Mrs. Henson again, her gray hair pulled back neatly, eyes sharp. "Lila, thought you might need a hand with the accounts," she said, holding a manila folder. Her voice was calm, firm, like she knew exactly what we needed before we did. I stepped aside, letting her in. Nathan glanced up and smiled, then went back to his drawing. She placed the folder on the counter. "I went through the numbers you were tracking," she said. "Everything checks out. You're in control, all of it." Her gaze met mine, steady, reassuring. I nodded, relief washing over me, but it was mixed with a simmering heat. This was more than relief. This was recognition of what I had endured, of what I had built while others doubted me. Outside, the sound of a car pulling into the driveway caught my attention. I looked through the blinds. Mark. He stopped, glanced up at the house, and then hesitated. I didn't answer the door. I didn't acknowledge him. He had assumed control was his, that I would flinch. He was wrong. I turned back to the table, opening the folder. Each page confirmed what I already knew. Investments, accounts, property deeds, every asset that had been questioned, every claim he had made, now recognized and secured. My fingers traced the lines, the ink, the numbers. Nathan leaned against my leg, small and steady. Mark's car engine rumbled faintly as he drove off. I didn't watch. I didn't need to. We were safe. We were strong. Everything he thought he could take, every doubt he planted, every underestimation, was now ours to control. Nathan glanced up, then back to his drawing. I smiled, quietly, firmly. He didn't need to know everything yet. He just needed to see strength in action. The house felt alive with it. Not fear, not tension, power, quiet, deliberate, earned. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe fully, freely. We had won. Not by fighting loudly, but by standing steady, watching and acting when the moment demanded it. The sun had dipped low, painting the sky orange and gold. I stood on the porch, Nathan beside me, the air crisp and cool against our skin. The house was quiet, filled only with the soft creaks of settling wood and the distant hum of cars on the street. A car pulled up slowly. I didn't flinch. I already knew who it was. Mark stepped out, hesitated, then walked up the path. His eyes scanned the house, then flicked to Nathan. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the uncertainty he tried to hide. I opened the door, just a crack. "You're here," I said. Voice calm, steady. "I see you." His lips pressed together, no words. He expected anger, maybe tears. He got neither. Nathan waved slightly, still holding his sketchbook. I crouched, whispering, "Go draw. I'll handle this." He nodded and settled on the floor with colored pencils spread around him. I straightened and looked at Mark. "I don't know what you thought this would accomplish," I said. My words were measured, deliberate. All those years underestimating me, thinking I wouldn't see, thinking I wouldn't act. He swallowed. His jaw tightened. The air between us was thick, heavy. He knew I had the upper hand now. That control had shifted completely. Mrs. Henson appeared behind me, carrying a tray with warm coffee. She set it on the table, her expression unreadable, steady. "You're doing the right thing," she said softly, nodding at me. I nodded back. Support in small gestures, enough to reinforce the quiet power I had claimed. Mark's eyes darted to the tray, then to Nathan. He faltered. He realized truly that his attempts to intimidate, to manipulate, had failed. Everything he had relied on, fear, hesitation, secrecy, was gone. I stepped aside, letting the porch light fall across him. "You can leave," I said, "or you can stay and watch how we live now. Your choice." He paused, looked at Nathan, looked at me, then slowly walked back to the car. Engine roared, tires crunched gravel, and he was gone. I closed the door, leaned against it, letting out a long breath. Nathan crawled onto the porch steps beside me. I wrapped an arm around him, feeling his warmth, safe, strong. We had survived. We had won. And in that moment, I knew this was just the beginning, that the life we built, the respect we earned, was ours. Always. And we would never let anyone take it away again. If this story resonates with you, remember to stand firm, protect what matters, and trust the strength you carry inside. You are stronger than anyone who doubts you.